Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we are doing the best case scenario for Republicans in the 2024 midterm elections. This is assuming we have DeSantis on the ballot, meaning Trump is not the nominee, he drops out or something, gets defeated, whatever. And basically, DeSantis is the nominee and his strength with independents is great. And he is running against Joe Biden again, who's running for another term, and yeah, so that's the scenario here. We have DeSantis creating a down ballot effect that's going to largely shape in a lot of these races. So let's get started first with the safe blue states. Washington, California. Is Dianne Feinstein going to run again? I mean, it's seriously possible. I will not be surprised if she decides to. Adam Schiff, Ro Khanna, they're considered top contenders if she does not. But we will have to see about that. Mitt Romney is almost certainly going to be primaried. I don't care what the man says, he's going to be primaried. Both the Nebraska elections are going to be solidly Republican. Oh yes, and there is nothing in Alaska, so excuse that. Okay. Missouri, Tennessee, Mississippi, and yes, Florida would be a safe state in this timeline. Ron DeSantis won Florida by 19.4%. in a neutral year. Now, that's not to say Florida was having a red wave of it in itself. Like, it was having a red wave in a sense, but I truly believe that with DeSantis being on the ballot in his home state, he's going to drag Rick Scott over at least the 5% threshold, probably the 10% threshold at this rate, considering how much Florida went to the right. And yeah. Okay. Is that really it? Oh yes, Indiana, of course. We're now going to start filling in the rest of the safe Democratic states. These include Maryland, Delaware, not New Jersey, surprisingly, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and Vermont. Yes, Bernie Sanders is an independent, I get that, but come on. He's basically a Democrat. New York, Maine. There's not really a scenario to make Angus King lose. I mean, I think it would be solid I, personally, for Angus King. Although I think there's the possibility that it's closer than before. But there's going to be vote splitting between Republicans and Democrats again. Like, the Democrats probably going to get like 10% again, and the Republicans going to get like 30-something percent. And Angus King's going to get like a little bit over 50 or something. So it's going to be closer than before in this timeline, but not overly close. Not really to the point of making it likely. Okay. Not Virginia, not okay. Most of these states, these look good. Oh, Hawaii, of course. Can't forget Hawaii. Okay. So this leaves us with the following states to be filled out. We will go through each one, starting with New Jersey. Bob Menendez, in a best case scenario for Republicans, would lose by he could actually be primaried, which would be interesting. Currently, the only Republican candidate to have declared is Daniel Cruz, the former member of the Andover Township Board of Education, candidate for the 24th District of New Jersey Senate. So he's out there. I wouldn't say he's a really well-known candidate. He's not, clearly. But Bob Menendez is so scandal-ridden, so unpopular. I legitimately think there is a shot to pull him below the 10% threshold, especially with Ron DeSantis on the ballot, as DeSantis would probably do better. Yeah, that guy's hated. So, looking at this, he won against a no-name candidate by 11.2%. I think it's absolutely possible for him to win by like 9.5 to 9. Maybe even below that. I mean, who really knows? It really depends on if they're able to recruit a good candidate. Okay. Let's look next at Virginia. And Virginia, best case scenario, it's lean D. Virginia is basically gone for Democrats, but I could look. This could even be tilt D. I'll be completely honest. Virginia swung heavily to the left in 2020, but then they elected Glenn Youngkin for governor, which, granted, that's an off year. So, like, who really knows? But Glenn Youngkin is popular, and assuming he ran in this timeline, which is best for Republicans, I would see him bringing it very, very close. Tim Kaine is just meh. Like, people in the state don't love him, but they don't really hate him. He's just kind of there. So there's not really a reason why Kaine would be um, particularly in a good position to defeat Youngkin handily. I think that DeSantis will bring the state back to more of a 7.6 point margin for Joe Biden in the state. I think Trump's unpopularity was really partly what made him do so poorly there, but I think DeSantis would do way better in Virginia than Trump probably would in the end, and as a result, DeSantis would pull Youngkin really, really close to the finish line and maybe pull him across. Maybe. That's assuming this is a really good environment for Republicans. But I don't see it flipping as of right now. We're going to look at the state of Texas next. Texas, best case scenario, it's likely R. We have two candidates who've already declared, Aaron Argujo, and John Love III. What a name. Inside Election says this is a solid R. I disagree. This is going to be likely R at the best case scenario because Ted Cruz is so hated. All he needs to do is stop being divisive, and he will not be hated anymore. But he can't help himself. So he's just really not going to do that well. DeSantis will help him, though. DeSantis will definitely help pull him over the finish line. We're now going to look at the state of Pennsylvania. I believe Pennsylvania, honestly, lean D. If Bob Casey Jr. somehow starts losing popularity by then, and assuming it's a Republican-leaning environment and DeSantis does well in the concurrent election, we could see Bob Casey Jr. have his closest race. He did incredibly well back in 2018 because blue wave year. Obama was on the ballot back in 2012. Against Tom Smith, so he won only about 9 points. Which is the closest election he's had, honestly. But with DeSantis being on the ballot and with Biden not being popular in Pennsylvania right now, this could legitimately come to be a lean margin, barely. But I really don't see any chance of this flipping. I really don't see any chance, unless Bob Casey Jr. has a huge scandal like a few days before Election Day. I don't see it flipping. We're now going to look at the state of New Mexico. That's sticking out like a sore thumb. New Mexico, Mark Ronchetti, best case scenario, he runs again, and the state is brought down to likely, possibly lean. Nah, probably not lean. DeSantis would do really good in New Mexico, though, and Mark Ronchetti would make it pretty close. So yeah, that's all I have to say there. What we now have to look at is, let's look at Michigan. I'm doing all the likely states if you haven't noticed. Michigan's considered a battleground by Inside Elections. Debbie Stabenow is pretty popular, I would say. But best case scenario, this is a lean margin for her. I don't think this can really flip. I think it has a better chance of flipping than Pennsylvania, but that's all about I really have to say for that state. James Craig would be the best candidate to go up against Debbie Stabenow. But I don't know if he's going to run or not. Okay. Let's talk about West Virginia. That state is really going to is almost certain to flip, no matter what. Even inside elections, as that is lean are, and these polls are also showing it. Okay, Alex Mooney already declared his candidacy. He is an alright candidate, but not a great candidate by any means. I don't think he's a really strong candidate or a really weak candidate either way. Jim Justice would be the best nominee, but you know who else would be a great nominee? You know who else would be? This guy. Yeah. John Racy, baby. Gotta love that guy. I'm telling you, run again, John, run. We want you. We love John. Anyway, probably solid R, honestly. It would Manchin, best case scenario, Manchin retires, and it's solid R. And speaking of which, solid R for Montana too. Best case scenario, Tester retires, and we get Ryan Zink, who is a terrible candidate and might actually bring it to likely. But given Ron DeSantis being on the ballot, that would certainly help out Jon Tester. I mean, Ryan Zink. Matt Rosendale would easily win this. But that's the best case scenario. Now, Ohio's a different story. And you know what? Before we talk about Ohio, let's talk about Minnesota. Minnesota, best case scenario, Amy Klobuchar somehow slips in popularity, and DeSantis being on the ballot helps her barely win by below 10 points. But that's very, very unlikely. I'm not going to hold myself to that by any means. Okay. We have Ohio to talk about. We definitely need to talk about Ohio. Let's get there right now. Best case scenario for Ohio is that the Republicans run Frank LaRose. Frank LaRose won by 20 points in Ohio for his Secretary of State race, and I'm telling you, Ohio's looking more and more done. So I could see this being a lean race, but Sherrod Brown is actually popular in the state, and it's going to be difficult to defeat him, but I do think it is legitimately possible with a statewide elected official like Frank LaRose. So, that will do it for that. Wisconsin. Best case scenario, DeSantis barely pulls out a win for Republicans in the state of Wisconsin. Yeah, I know Tammy Baldwin. Don't think she can go down really. But assuming this is a strong environment, assuming DeSantis wins Wisconsin, and assuming the Republican nominee is really good, like somebody like Mike Gallagher that both sides can respect, because Mike Gallagher voted for same-sex marriage and all that stuff. Obviously, we can expect that there would be some sort of competitiveness here and probably a flip. Okay, two more states. Nevada, Ron DeSantis would hands down win Nevada, in my opinion. Cortez Masto barely got by in a neutral-leaning year. And I think this could be a lean flip with somebody like Rick Harrison or Sam Brown. Sam Brown is... I don't really know that much about him. Maybe Adam Laxalt runs again, which would be insane if he did. But Ron DeSantis would certainly have a coattail effect here in Nevada, and that would certainly help pull whoever it is across the finish line to defeat Jackie Rosen. Our final state is Arizona, and this one is really, really hard because Kyrsten Sinema had to go and make herself an independent, and she filed paperwork too. What the heck, man? Ruben Galgo, almost certain to be the Democratic nominee. Kari Lake, he is not considering she is not considering running. The rest of these, not really important candidates. Kelly Ward, I mean, yeah, she exists. Karen Taylor Robson, I mean, no. Why? David Schweikert, no. He barely got by this year anyway. Blake Masters, I mean, maybe. Now, the question here is how much of the vote's going to be split. And I personally believe that the amount of vote that's going to be split is going to be pretty minimal. But, because this is the best case scenario, I'm going to say DeSantis narrowly wins the state of Arizona and wins it alongside whoever is the nominee in this case. Best case scenario, Doug Ducey runs and he's the nominee. Worst case scenario, you get like Blake Masters again, or David Schweikert, or one of these other horrible candidates. Mark Lamb possibly could be the nominee. He would be good. But yeah, that's pretty much it. This is the best case scenario. We would get Republican flips out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 states total. Do I think that's going to happen? Well, no. No, I don't. I don't see that happening as of yet. But this is the best Republicans can really do. So, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.